Hey, how's it going, and welcome to another video. So the new Death Note one-shot special came out like a couple of days ago, and this was not really something I was anticipating making a video on, but god dude, that fucking one-shot was something. So for a bit of background on me and my expectations for this thing, Death Note really was one of the defining anime of my weeb youth. Just super influential for my perception of what animation could be. And I also remember it being one of the first shows that, really made me think about a particular theme it presented, and that, of course, being, the whole theme of, is it okay to kill criminals? Where does the pursuit of justice start, and the value of life end, I guess? But, great manga series, great anime series, love it to death, very important, cornerstone of my weeb youth, very special to me in general. And so, going into this new chapter, after, god, it's been definitely over 10 years since the Death Note manga ended. Yeah, it ended in 2006, so it's been, 14 years. And so going into it, I guess I expected something that would be very kind of safe. It would be kind of like somebody gets a Death Note and they start killing people and then Nier stops them. That would just be it. But instead, this chapter does the most insane shit. This is the schlockiest Death Note content that has ever existed. And the second half of Death Note had some schlock to begin with. Fucking Mello getting a rocket to ship the Death Note off somewhere else comes to mind. But this takes it to a whole extra level. And the first 30 pages or so are about what you would expect. It's a lot of the setup, teaching the character about the Death Note. Kind of the effect that Kira had on the world, setting up the self-contained story, I guess. And after that, you think, alright, so this is just gonna be this guy's gonna start using the notebook, he's gonna kill people for whatever reason, then Nier's gonna find who he is and stop him. And that's when this story goes in the complete opposite direction of what I think anybody would have expected. The fucker tries to sell the Death Note. And that's the thing that I think I liked the most about this story overall, is the fact that it was so willing to be different from, Death Note. Because it obviously has all the characters, the setting, the notebook itself. And naturally, your kind of presumption going into a new Death Note work is he's gonna use the notebook to kill people, right? And that's when this entire one-shot becomes just so much fun. And I definitely wasn't expecting it to be so fun and whimsical and just purely entertaining the way it was. I definitely wasn't expecting to be laughing and giggling and purely entertained at this shit. I was expecting more of oh, that's neat. Oh, cool. But so this fucking dude uses Ryuk to start a bidding war for the Death Note. And since Nier and Matsuda and everybody else who was involved with it touched that notebook, they can see Ryuk. And so they all know it's legit. Oh, Nier's new design I think looks absolutely great. That's so totally how Nier would look 10 years in the future. Of course his ass wouldn't cut his hair at all. And something else before this thought slips my mind is that I really like the way it points out the differences between Death Note when it took place and the current day. Because even though it's only been about 15 years. I'm pretty sure Death Note, the second part of it, takes place in 2011. But still, a 10-15 years difference. It's crazy how much the world has changed. Everybody's on the internet. Everybody has a smartphone. And society's just attitudes and perceptions of things are very different. So obviously this is not going to happen, but I really like the idea of there being just an every 10 years Death Note chapter to reflect the times. I think there was a certain magic that was captured by this that I don't think could be replicated, but I don't know, I kind of like the idea of there being an every 10 years, in 2030 we get the status update of what would probably happen if a Death Note fell into the world. But that obviously probably won't happen, but I still think that would be kind of a neat idea. And so for a while, it's just kind of this escalation of the bidding and all the different, factions of the world getting involved. And the bidding war for the notebook goes so far beyond the scope of, individuals buying it that world governments have to get involved. And it reaches this point where it's so insane that it's Nier, what's Nier gonna do about this? The whole world is bidding on this thing at this point. It's some multi-layered, you're watching the characters watch the world bid over the fucking notebook and go insane. It's awesome. And then Donald fucking Trump appears in Death Note and bids for the notebook. I just about shit when I saw that. I'm still flabbergasted. This is like one of those, you know how people, whenever a Smash character is revealed, people are like, imagine showing this to somebody in 2010. Like, imagine showing my ass this in 2010. The simulation we're all stuck in is breaking down. Like, Trump is the president, and he's bidding on the Death Note. Trump is canon to Death Note. And so then the world leaders start bidding on it. Like, Winnie the Pooh shows up for a panel. And eventually Trump wins the auction for the notebook. I still can't believe that's a sentence I'm saying, and, like, has context to it. Donald Trump wins the bidding war for the Death Note. Like, that's something else that I just absolutely love about this shit, is that it feels like a 2 a.m. conversation made manifest. This is like a 2 a.m. Discord call that you would have, where somehow you end up on the topic of, what if Trump got the Death Note? That's this. This fucking one-shot is a 2 a.m. Discord conversation that Oba and Obata had and decided to actually make real. And I also really like the part where the transaction is just about to happen, and, like, the fucking Nier's gang are like, oh, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna intercept the notebook? And Nier's like, no, don't do that. Because I live in America. Like, like, fuck that. I don't want it to go to China. Like, and so the obvious question throughout the entire thing is, how the hell is this transaction actually gonna work? Because, you know, he can't, like, nobody can pay this amount of money in cash. You can't send it to a bank account, otherwise they're gonna know who it is. But it turns out the entire time the scheme was basically, so he orders Trump, basically, to divide it up among every person that has a bank account with this particular bank. And so everybody under a certain age with a bank account with this bank is getting 1 billion yen, which of course includes him. It's like, dude, that's brilliant! That's so fucking smart! And so he gets his cut of the money, and also, like, makes Japan the greatest economic powerhouse in the world. Like, he basically stole every bit of money from the Americans and gave it to Japan, and now they're gonna enter, like, this golden age? Oh, fuck. And so Ryuk brings the notebook to Trump, and then he's like, oh, hang on, Mr. President, there's a new rule. A human who buys or sells the Death Note in the human world will die. So Trump is all, okay, you know what? We'll pretend like I have it and I'm not gonna use it and everyone will think I'm a saint. But man, what a just fun story. Like, I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. It manages to be a story about the Death Note that doesn't really involve the usage of the notebook. Because, like, it's natural to, whenever you think about Death Note, to think it's gonna be a story about killing people and death and, like, justice and, you know, whatever else, and detective mind games. But instead, it's a story about economics and a bidding war and, like, how society would react to such a thing. Man, I loved it. Really fun, really entertaining. It was nice seeing a lot of these characters again. And it was different. It was very different from anything I could have expected it to be. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.